I want a divorce. These words echoed in my mind as I stared at my cell phone screen, seeing the cruel message I had just sent to my wife. The words pulsed on the screen, as if they had a mind of their own, as if they screamed the pain I was feeling, as if they revealed the dirty secret that had come to light that afternoon. There I was, sitting at the kitchen table, holding a glass of whiskey with shaking hands. A mixture of anger, hurt and disbelief. The woman I shared a life with, the one I promised to love and respect above all else, was cheating on me. Not with just anyone, but with her own boss. My heart was on fire, each hit felt like a sharp stab. The day started like any other. I woke up, went to work, kissed my wife quickly before leaving, suspecting absolutely nothing. Little did I know that that kiss was empty, a mechanical gesture, devoid of any sincerity. I was oblivious to what was happening in the shadow of that routine. But as the hours passed, something seemed strange. An intuition, a latent discomfort that was pounding in my head. At first, I thought it was just a feeling of paranoia. After all, why would we suspect something so far from our reality? Until then, our life seemed ordinary. Until a message arrived on my cell phone, "I think you need to know this." There was a photo. A single photo that destroyed the world I knew. My wife and that man, hugged intimately, exchanging looks that were not of friendship, nor of simple companionship. The blood froze in my veins. Her boss. She cheated on me with her own boss. The whiskey burned as I swallowed sip after sip. My body was there, but my mind wandered between memories and questions. How did I not notice? How many times did she lie to me, saying she was working late, that she was stuck in meetings? I started to remember the little signs that I had ignored, the cell phone always with the screen facing down, the unexpected work trips, the different perfume on my clothes. So that was it, huh? I murmured into the void, feeling the pain of the words as if someone had spat them at me. The betrayal. The deception. The dishonesty. Everything hit me at once, and the feeling that I had been a blind idiot all this time was eating me up. I called her, my voice full of coldness. "Can you come home now?" I asked, remaining calm, but with a voice full of tension. She hesitated. His response was evasive, typical of someone hiding something. "I'm in a meeting. I'll talk to you later, okay?" I hung up without waiting for another word. I knew at that moment she was lying. I knew that meeting was a euphemism for something that couldn't be said over the phone. I had to do something. Every second felt like a century as I thought of the best way to confront her, to get her to confess. Somehow, I needed her to feel even a tenth of the pain that was gnawing at me. It was then that the idea came up. I would get it over with. I decided to send the cruelest message that had ever come out of my fingers: "I want a divorce." Just that. Just a simple sentence, but one filled with silent fury. I wanted her to read it while she was in the meeting. I wanted that perfect world she built to crumble in front of her, the same way mine had been destroyed. I imagined your expression when you read the message. I imagined her getting up, panicked, sweating, looking for an excuse to leave the room without anyone noticing. I wanted her to feel the despair, the pain, the fear. I wanted her to be consumed by uncertainty, just like I was. The hours passed slowly. I stared at the clock, waiting for the door to open and her to walk in, for the inevitable confrontation to finally happen. Until the key turned in the lock. She entered. His look was one of pure confusion, his eyes wide, trying to understand what was happening. What does this message mean?" she asked, her voice shaking. I saw the hesitation, the fear of being caught. I kept my gaze fixed, steady. There was no room for hesitation. "You know exactly what it means," I replied coldly. "You betrayed me. And I know everything." Silence took over the room. She turned pale, her eyes filling with tears. But instead of crying, she tried to deny it, make excuses, blame it on me, on work, on everything but herself. Her every word was like a blow, trying to defend herself with false sincerity, a desperate attempt to repair what was already broken. Until the mask fell, and she confessed. She admitted that she had gotten involved with her boss, that she was confused, that things got out of control. Her words came like daggers. I never wanted to hurt you. I was lost. But her words brought no comfort. The hole inside me only increased, the feeling that my life had become a well-told lie. What I didn't expect was that while she was on her knees, begging for my forgiveness, another twist was about to happen. A mysterious woman with a surprising connection to the boss was about to enter the story, bringing an even more painful truth to light. And, after all, who would she be? And why would her presence completely change the course of this betrayal? The truth is that the game was just beginning. Welcome to the channel. Here, betrayal is never romanticized, our stories are fictional and have a clear objective, to show how much betrayal can devastate lives, families, and relationships. Each narrative is a powerful reminder of the real consequences of poor choices and the deep pain they cause. So, get ready, you're about to hear a shocking story, full of emotion and twists. Enjoy the journey and remember, betrayal is never the answer. Good story. New York was more than a dream scenario for Lucas and Anna. It was the city that connected them, where they built a home and where their routines crossed like clockwork, always in tune. Lucas was a financial analyst. He spent his days in glass-walled offices, surrounded by the noise of calls, numbers that multiplied on the screens and the tension that spread in the air with each market closing. He liked what he did, but the feeling of always being swallowed up by commitments made him tired. On Friday nights, relief came when crossing the front door and finding Anna with a warm smile, her hair always tied up carelessly and that unmistakable aroma of home-cooked dinners that she insisted on preparing, even after a long day of work. Anna worked as a project manager at an advertising agency. Always energetic, smiling, with a determination that impressed everyone around her. From an early age, I dreamed of having a successful career, and that position was the result of years of dedication. He always seemed to be in control, whether at work or at home. And that, while enchanting Lucas, also made him feel that she was always one step ahead, dominating the scene, dictating the rhythm of everything around her. It was something he admired, but which, in moments of insecurity, made him wonder if he could be enough for her. The apartment they shared in Brooklyn reflected a lot of their relationship, spacious, airy, full of memories hanging on the walls, travel photographs, shared laughter and small objects that told stories about the couple. A comfortable sofa for long conversations, glasses of wine on the table, and an antique wall clock, which Lucas had inherited from his grandfather. Life seemed to have fallen into place perfectly for both of them. And, to anyone looking from the outside, their routine was admirable. A young, successful couple with plans to expand their family soon. Friends from all sides, dinners filled with laughter and dreams drawn together. Mornings were always hurried. Anna usually left first, as the agency where she worked was in the city center and traffic was often relentless. Lucas, on the other hand, had a more flexible schedule, so he ate breakfast alone, thinking about everything he needed to do at work. Sometimes they exchanged messages throughout the day. Nothing out of the ordinary, how's your day, or see you later, like a couple who, although very busy, tried to keep the connection alive. However, in recent months, something seemed to have changed. Small details that Lucas started to notice, but couldn't define exactly. Anna seemed more absent. Sometimes their gaze seemed distant even when they were together, and the smiles, which were once constant, began to seem forced. She talked less and less about work, something that was previously a recurring theme in the couple's conversations. Agency meetings became more frequent, often extending into the night, which meant that Lucas had dinner alone on more occasions than he would have liked. It's the pressure of work, he thought. Anna was at a decisive moment in her career, involved in important projects and about to close a major campaign with a new agency client. Lucas understood the weight of this, and he knew how much it meant to her. Still, I couldn't help but feel a certain distance, an invisible gap that seemed to grow every day. One night, while Anna was once again late, Lucas decided to surprise her. I had prepared a simple dinner, something they liked to do when they were dating, when life was lighter and the night seemed endless. But when Anna entered, her gaze was lost, and she, without noticing the table set, made a quick excuse about being exhausted and went straight to the bedroom. Lucas stood there, staring at the empty plates, trying to ignore the lump that was forming in his throat. He didn't say anything that night, but something inside him was slowly changing. As the days turned into weeks, Anna continued to have an increasingly busy schedule. Weekends, which were previously dedicated to walks and moments of relaxation, began to be taken over by work. "A campaign that cannot wait," she said, with a tired look and an urgency in her voice that Lucas didn't know how to respond to. He tried to remain patient, offer support, give her space to deal with whatever it was. Deep down, he knew the work was important to her. I just didn't know if it was more important than the life they had built together. A notable point in that routine was the trip that Anna took to Philadelphia for work. It was a commitment that she said was crucial to the campaign she was coordinating. Lucas supported her, even with the inconvenience of not being able to accompany her. He was alone for 2 days, trying to occupy the time with his own activities and convince himself that everything was under control. When Anna returned, he welcomed her with affection, but noticed that there was something different about her, as if she had left something behind on the trip, or perhaps, as if she had brought something more. One night, while Lucas was getting ready for bed, Anna was sitting in the living room, focused on her cell phone. He glanced at her, seeing her typing furiously. He asked, casually, "Is it something related to work?" Anna smiled, but it wasn't a sincere smile. "Yes, just responding to some messages from the team." Lucas forced a smile back, but he knew there was something that wasn't being said. Still, I didn't want to pressure her. If she needed space, he was willing to give it. After all, I didn't want to be the husband who suffocates, who questions all the time. Still, there was something Lucas couldn't ignore. Anna's quick glances at her cell phone, the way she locked herself in the makeshift office in the guest room when she received calls, and the way she changed the subject when he asked about her days at the agency. Lucas tried to push away the thoughts, believing that it was just a figment of his imagination or accumulated stress. Meanwhile, the relationship seemed to fluctuate. There were good days, when everything seemed the same as before, laughter, dinners together and moments of affection that made Lucas believe that everything was fine. But there were days of pure tension, when he could feel the distance between them growing, almost as if there was an invisible barrier. Anna tried to keep her spirits up, but it seemed like something was eating her up inside. On one of these nights, Anna arrived home later than usual. Lucas, who was lying on the couch watching TV, got up when he heard the door. She entered with a serious expression, as if she were trapped in deep thoughts. "Are you well?" he asked, approaching. "Yeah, just work, you know." Anna replied, quickly changing the subject and saying that she needed to take a shower to relax. Lucas nodded, but something inside him screamed that that answer was an escape. He saw her disappear down the hallway and closed his eyes for a moment, trying to shake off the discomfort that was throbbing in his mind. That same night, as Lucas tried to fall asleep next to Anna, who was already breathing deeply in sleep, he couldn't turn off his thoughts. Every detail, every word spoken and every gesture that before seemed insignificant, now appeared like pieces of a puzzle that he couldn't put together. Something was wrong, very wrong, and he needed to find out what it was. Sleep didn't come that night, and Lucas found himself staring at the ceiling, wondering what would come next. The feeling that something was about to happen hung in the air, and at that moment, little did he know that the truth was about to explode before his eyes, revealing secrets that would change their lives forever. The next few days dragged by like a blur for Lucas. He couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something was out of place, and it was reflected in every aspect of his life. At work, meetings lost their meaning, he found himself staring at the glass walls of his office, deep in thought, while colleagues discussed numbers and reports. At home, the atmosphere was heavy, and silence filled the spaces where there had previously been laughter. Anna seemed to always be distracted, and the distance between them grew like a shadow. It was on a rainy night, as Lucas was getting ready for bed, that he decided he could no longer ignore that inner voice. It wasn't paranoia, it wasn't excessive worry, it was a desperate need to know what was going on. Anna was in the shower, and he could hear the sound of water echoing through the apartment. His eyes fell on her cell phone, left carelessly on the bedside table. The locked screen only showed a message notification. The temptation to pick up the device and find out everything was unbearable, but Lucas hesitated. It was wrong, he knew that, but what if? The sound of water was interrupted, and Lucas quickly took his hand away from his cell phone, getting up from the bed and pretending to adjust the pillows. Anna came out of the bathroom, wrapped in a towel, and glanced at him, without saying anything. He watched as she got dressed, the automatic movements of someone who was somewhere else, thinking about something else. Or, perhaps, someone else. The next morning, while Anna was having breakfast, Lucas tried, once again, to start a conversation. "How's work going?" he asked, trying to sound casual. Anna looked at him, with a brief but not sincere smile. "Everything under control. Just, a lot to sort out. But it's going to be okay." He nodded, forcing a smile back. Everything seemed rehearsed, as if they were reading a script that no longer made sense to either of them. The words were empty, emotionless. He wanted to scream, wanted to force her to look him in the eyes and tell him what was wrong, but he stopped himself. It wasn't the time yet. The tension increased every day. Lucas began to notice that Anna spent more time at work than usual, and her excuses for arriving late became more vague. She always said they were last-minute meetings, or urgent projects. Lucas tried to believe it, but each excuse seemed more lame than the last. And whenever he asked about the colleagues she worked with, Anna would look away or quickly change the subject. It was on a Friday afternoon that everything began to reveal itself. Lucas left work early, determined to confront Anna. There was no longer any room for doubt, he needed to hear the truth, even if it destroyed everything. When he arrived at the apartment, he found it empty. The light in the room was off, and the air felt charged. He knew Anna wasn't there, but he decided to wait. He sat on the sofa, staring at the wall clock as the hands slowly turned. After hours, when it was getting dark, Lucas heard the key click in the lock. Anna entered, with a surprised expression when she saw him sitting there. "What are you doing here so early?" she asked, trying to hide the nervousness in her voice. "We need to talk," he replied, his voice firm, but his heart racing. Anna hesitated, as if considering running away at that very moment. But then, he took a deep breath and walked to the sofa, sitting down next to it. There was a heavy silence, and Lucas could hear her rapid breathing. He felt his chest tighten, knowing that the conversation he was about to have would change everything forever. "What's happening to you?" he asked finally. "I feel like you're different. Distant. And I'm not just talking about work, Anna. I want to know what's really going on." She opened her mouth to respond, but the words seemed stuck. Lucas continued, "You are hiding something from me. I know that. And I need you to tell me the truth, now." Anna's eyes filled with tears, but she shook her head, denying it, as if she wanted to believe her own lies. "No. Nothing's happening. I'm overwhelmed, Lucas. That's all. I didn't want to worry you." He knew it was a lie, and frustration took over. Anger and pain mixed together, and he felt the need to resolve it once and for all. He got up, walked to the bedside table and took her cell phone, without saying anything. Anna widened her eyes, standing up quickly, but Lucas was determined. He unlocked the device, and went straight to the messages. "What are you doing?" Anna shouted, trying to get her cell phone back, but Lucas pushed her away with a firm gesture. And that's where he saw it. The messages exchanged. Affectionate words, shared intimacies. The name that was repeated in every conversation, the same name he knew very well. Her boss. Lucas felt the ground disappear beneath his feet. Everything fell into place like pieces of a damn puzzle. The nights at work, the trips, the distant looks. The cell phone fell from his hands, and he just looked at Anna, who was now crying, unable to look at him. "How could you?" he murmured, his voice choked, a mix of disbelief and pain. Anna was unable to respond. She just broke down, feeling the weight of the truth suffocate her. And in that moment, Lucas knew that his life would never be the same. And although the betrayal was exposed, he knew there was still something darker, something that had not yet been revealed. And that, somehow, it would be even worse than that. Lucas looked at Anna as if he were facing a complete stranger. The betrayal had been revealed, but there was something more in that look in her eyes, something that bothered him deeply. It wasn't just guilt or remorse, but a mixture of fear and panic, an anxiety that seemed ready to boil over. He couldn't say exactly what it was, but he could feel the heavy air around them, suffocating, full of unspoken words. Anna remained still, unable to look at him, tears streaming down her face. The silence that followed was unbearable. Lucas, already without strength, went to the kitchen, trying to organize his thoughts, but the whirlwind of emotions prevented him from thinking clearly. He leaned against the counter, breathing deeply, his eyes fixed on nothing. For a moment, he wanted to just leave the house and never come back, but there was something keeping him there, something he knew needed clearing up. "You need to tell me everything," he finally said, his voice low but full of pain. "I won't be able to move forward without knowing the truth. Why did this happen? Why with him?" Anna approached slowly, her face downcast but hesitant. She knew this conversation was inevitable, but she wasn't prepared for what she was about to say. He felt that any words would be insufficient to repair the damage he had caused. "And I knew, deep down, that it wasn't just about betrayal. Lucas. She began, but her voice trailed off. "I never wanted it to get to this point. I swear, I never wanted to hurt you. That's not what I'm talking about, Anna." He slammed his hand on the counter, startling her. "I want to know why. How did this start? And what else are you hiding from me?" Anna lowered her head, her lips trembling as she tried to find the right words. It felt like the weight of everything she had done was about to crush her, and for a moment she wished none of it had happened, that she could go back in time and right her wrongs. But time doesn't come back, and now she had to face the consequences of her choices. It was something that happened, that got out of control, she said, her voice broken. "In the beginning, it was just work. Just dinners, meetings. I never imagined it would go beyond that. But he enveloped me in a way I couldn't help. He made me feel alive, wanted again." Lucas felt his heart sink when he heard those words. Desired. As if he hadn't been enough for her all that time. As if everything they built together had been easily discarded by a momentary attraction. "So that was it? Did you cheat on me because you wanted to feel alive?" He laughed, but there was no humor in his laugh, just pain. "And me? Our life? Our wedding? What does this mean for you?" Anna approached, trying to touch him, but he backed away, moving away from her. "That's not it, Lucas. I love you, I really. She hesitated, as if she was about to say something that terrified her. "I just couldn't deal with everything that was happening. I know I made a mistake, but what?" Lucas interrupted, crossing his arms. "What aren't you telling me?" And then, before she could respond, her cell phone vibrated on the table. Anna looked at the screen for a second, as if she was about to see a ghost. Lucas saw her reaction and grabbed the device before she could do anything. It was a message, and the name on the screen made her stomach turn, Patricia. Who is Patricia? He asked, with a cold calm, but feeling panic rising inside him. Anna swallowed hard, her eyes widened, as if the world was about to collapse on her. And, at that moment, Lucas realized that there was something deeper than he imagined. Something much worse. She's his wife, Anna whispered, almost voiceless. Lucas felt as if the ground had been ripped out from under his feet. Are you saying he's married too? His voice was cold, almost threatening. And what does his wife know about you? Anna nodded, her eyes teary, and began to cry, letting herself fall on the sofa. She found out a few days ago, and sent me messages. She knows everything, Lucas, she knows about me, about the case, and she's threatening, to end my life, to end everything. I don't know what to do. Lucas stood still, trying to process everything he was hearing. His wife had gotten involved with a married man, and now his wife was threatening to expose everything. The betrayal was already devastating, but realizing that Anna had put herself in such a senseless, dangerous situation left him speechless. Why didn't you tell me this before? He asked, his voice low but full of anger. I didn't know how, Anna replied, sobbing. I wanted to break up with him, I wanted to resolve this without you knowing, but, she's furious, Lucas. She said she's going to expose everything, to everyone. My parents, my work, she wants to destroy my life. Lucas felt his blood boil. Patricia, the betrayed wife, knew exactly where to reach Anna, and was determined to make her pay for everything. He could understand that woman's anger, he knew how much the pain of betrayal could consume a person. But what he didn't understand was how Anna had let herself get involved to this point, how she had put herself in a situation she couldn't escape. And you thought hiding this from me would be the best solution? He asked in disbelief. Let me live in this lie. Let me think everything was fine. Anna raised her face, her eyes desperate. I wanted to protect you. I wanted to protect our family. I know I made a mistake, but I didn't want you to go through that. Lucas let out a bitter sigh. You really believe that, don't you? That you were doing it for me. But the truth is that you were doing it for yourself, to protect your own skin. Silence hung between them like a sharp knife, cutting off any hope of reconciliation. Lucas knew that, from that moment on, there was no going back. What Anna had done was irreparable, and now they were trapped in a dangerous game, with Patricia pulling the strings. What are you going to do? He asked, unable to look her in the eye. Anna wiped her tears, trying to regain her composure. I don't know. I just know that. I need to talk to her, try to resolve this, ask for forgiveness, I don't know. I just need this to end. Lucas nodded slowly, but his gaze was blank. There was nothing more to be said. The betrayal had been revealed, and now it remained to be seen what Patricia's next move would be. After all, the secret was out of control, and Lucas knew the storm was just beginning. The room was immersed in a dense, almost suffocating silence. Lucas, breathing heavily, stared at Anna, trying to organize his thoughts and find a way through the chaos that was taking place in his mind. Patricia's name still reverberated in his ears. He thought about the boss's wife, about the strength with which she was willing to expose the case, to destroy Anna, and he wondered how far that anger could reach. It was a moral dilemma that gnawed not only at Anna, but at all of them. How to deal with a situation where there is no solution that does not bring pain. Anna, in turn, was falling apart. His mind kept spinning, imagining what Patricia would do next. The threat hung over his head like a guillotine about to be released. Every second felt like an eternity, and she could barely breathe, gripped by constant panic. Patricia's messages, the ignored phone calls. She knew she couldn't escape that confrontation, but what could she say to that woman to make the hatred stop? I'll talk to her, Anna murmured, almost to herself, as if trying to convince her own conscience that there was still something to be done. Talk to her. Lucas replied, disbelief visible in his eyes. And what do you think this will change? She wants revenge, Anna. She wants you to feel the same pain she is feeling. Do you think she'll just accept an apology? Anna lowered her head, trying to hold back the tears. She knew he was right. Apologizing wouldn't be enough, it never would be. But she had no choice but to try. The next day began with palpable tension in the air. Lucas left the house early, without saying anything, just leaving Anna alone with her thoughts. The hours passed slowly as she stared at her cell phone, trying to find the courage to call Patricia. The messages she had received were all there, veiled threats, angry declarations, each one a reminder of the destruction she had caused not only in her own marriage, but also in another woman's life. When she finally worked up the courage, Anna dialed the number with trembling fingers and waited for the call to go through. The silence was deafening as the phone rang. Every touch felt like a death sentence. Finally, the call was answered, and she heard Patricia's cold and controlled voice. "So, you finally decided to call me," Patricia began, her tone of voice harsh and without any trace of compassion. Anna hesitated, trying to find the right words to begin. I'm sorry," he said, finally, his voice shaking. "I'm sorry about everything, about getting involved with your husband. I just wanted to try to resolve this in a civilized way. I know I made a terrible mistake." Civilized? Patricia interrupted, with a bitter laugh. "You destroyed my marriage, stole my husband, and now you want to resolve this civilly? Do you think simple words can fix everything?" Anna closed her eyes, trying to remain calm, but the coldness in Patricia's voice hit her like a knife. "I don't expect you to forgive me," she began, but Patricia interrupted her again. "Of course. And I won't forgive. I will make sure you pay for all of this. And don't think that only you will suffer. I will destroy your marriage, I will expose every sordid detail of your relationship with my husband. Everyone will know who you really are. I will make you regret every second you spent with him." The weight of those words fell on Anna like a blow. She knew nothing could stop what was about to happen. There were no arguments that could convince her to stop. And the reality that her life was about to be devastated left her paralyzed. After the call, Anna remained motionless on the sofa for long minutes, staring into space. Every fiber of his being was gripped by fear. Patricia was determined to destroy it, and she knew she didn't have the strength to stop the storm that was coming. Lucas, in turn, was far from home, but he could not escape the shadow of that conflict. He drove aimlessly, trying to find a space where he could think, where he could breathe without feeling the weight of betrayal and dilemma that now dominated his life. He knew he couldn't continue living like that, trapped between anger and love, between the desire for revenge and the desire to protect what was left of his family. But what should I do? How did he move forward, knowing that his wife was about to face public exposure that would end their reputation, their work, their life as they knew it? When he finally returned home, the apartment was silent. Anna was in the room, and Lucas could hear her muffled crying from the hallway. He felt his heart sink, but at the same time, he didn't know how to comfort someone who had broken his heart into 1,000 pieces. He entered the room, without saying anything. Anna was sitting on the edge of the bed, her face buried in her hands. She looked at him, her eyes red and swollen from crying, and for a moment, there were no words between them, just the shared pain of a life falling apart. Anna began, her voice weak. "She will tell everything, Lucas. It will expose everything. I don't know what to do." Lucas remained silent, trying to control his own breathing. He wanted to scream, he wanted to tell her that she had ruined everything, that there was no way out of this situation. But at the same time, something inside him stopped him from pouring more hate on her. Maybe because, deep down, he knew he was already broken enough. And despite all his anger, he still saw the woman he loved there, before him, lost and destroyed by her own choices. "So that's it," he said finally, his voice low and resigned. Everything will end. There is nothing more to be done. Anna nodded, despair written all over her face. I'm sorry, Lucas. I feel so much. He shook his head, unable to respond. There was so much to be said, but at the same time, no words seemed enough to fix what had been broken. And at that moment, the only certainty was that the end was quickly approaching, bringing with it all the consequences of betrayal. Silence fell between them, heavy, final. The only thing left was to wait for the storm that was about to hit, and hope that, somehow, they would manage to survive the damage it would leave behind. The day that Anna feared so much finally arrived. That morning, she woke up with her heart racing, her hands in a cold sweat and a feeling of despair that seemed bigger than her body. I knew it was time to face the consequences of the case. Patricia's call had been the trigger, and the woman had wasted no time in carrying out her threats. The news of the betrayal was about to be exposed to the world, but not in the way Anna expected. When Lucas woke up, he found his cell phone full of notifications, messages from friends, family, even coworkers. As he processed the flood of information, he realized the betrayal story was already circulating. Patricia had leaked everything, messages, photos and details of the case, but not just to Anna and Lucas' close circles. She had gone further. That morning, a full article had been published online, detailing every aspect of the relationship between Anna and her boss, exposing the case to everyone. Anna's agency and Lucas' office already knew everything, and now the story was on social media, being shared, commented on, judged. Anna, upon seeing the news, began to tremble. Her hands were as cold as ice, and she felt the weight of the world crashing down on her shoulders. Everything she feared was happening, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. Lucas watched everything in silence. He knew that what he was seeing was just the beginning of what would be the collapse of their lives as they knew it. He felt a mixture of pity and contempt for Anna, but at the same time, the feeling of emptiness that gripped him was stronger than any single emotion. The news not only ruined Anna's life, she destroyed Lucas himself. He saw his name associated with betrayal, with every sordid detail being exposed to the public as if they were characters in a story to entertain everyone. When Anna arrived at work, the eyes followed her. She could barely walk to her table without feeling the muffled laughter, the barely concealed whispers from everyone around her. What he had built for years, the respect of his colleagues, the trust of his superiors, everything had been destroyed in a single morning. At the end of that day, she was called to the boardroom, where she received the news that she was being fired. The agency could not risk having its reputation tarnished by a treason scandal. Anna left the room with a lost look, carrying her belongings in a box, feeling as if she was leaving a part of herself behind. But the worst was yet to come. That night, when he returned home, he found Lucas sitting in the living room, with bags packed beside him. "Are you going somewhere?" Anna asked, her voice weak, knowing the answer before she even heard it. "I'm leaving, Anna," Lucas replied, without emotion. "I can't stay here any longer. Not after all this. I need time to think." She tried to beg, to ask him to stay, but the words wouldn't come out. She felt defeated, as if she were sinking into a bottomless pit. Lucas just looked at her one last time, with an expression that mixed sadness and resignation, and then left, closing the door behind him. The storm intensified in the following weeks. Anna, now unemployed, lost contact with many friends and family who sided with Lucas or who simply didn't want to get involved in something so turbulent. She isolated herself, spending her days trying to understand how she got to that point, regretting every wrong choice, but unable to find a way out. The boss, who once seemed like a charismatic and engaging figure, has completely disappeared from her life, leaving her alone to face the chaos he helped create. Patricia, on the other hand, seemed to have gotten what she wanted. She destroyed Anna's marriage, her reputation, her career. But not without a price. Despite the revenge, she had to deal with the pain of her own destroyed marriage and seeing her life exposed to the world. That feeling of justice, which seemed so sweet at first, soon turned bitter. Even with Anna's life in ruins, Patricia felt a void that could not be filled by revenge. Lucas, trying to get himself together, spent time away from everything, seeking support from friends and family. He knew he couldn't forget what Anna had done, but, little by little, he began to accept that the only way to move forward was to leave that hatred and resentment behind. He began to reflect on his life, on his choices, and decided it was time to start over. Anna's betrayal had been a devastating blow, but it also forced him to see the need to take care of himself, to value himself and, above all, to move forward. Time passed, and everyone went their own way. Anna, in a desperate attempt to rebuild her life, left the city and moved to a small town in the countryside, far from everything and everyone who knew her. He knew it would take years to forgive himself, and he might never be able to. Patricia, in turn, moved on with her life, but with a darker outlook, carrying the weight of having destroyed another person. And Lucas? He finally found peace in accepting that some chapters need to be closed, no matter how painful they are. The pain was still there, but little by little, it turned into a distant memory, something that pushed him towards a better future. Betrayal, in the end, destroyed what was once love, but it also brought to light the need for changes, for endings and new beginnings. Each of them faced the consequences of their choices, and the marks that remained served as a reminder that the truth, no matter how painful it may be, always finds its way. And you, what did you think of this story? Share your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more intense stories like this, where we explore the devastating impacts of betrayal. Remember, the channel does not support, in any way, any type of betrayal. Until next time.